Hello and welcome to another episode of Talking Politics on the Hindu's YouTube channel. I'm Nistula Hebbar, political editor of The Hindu, and I will be taking you through this show where we go behind the scenes of stories making the headlines in domestic politics. Now, this week saw two chief ministers of southern states of Andhra Pradesh and Tamil Nadu, N. Chandrababu Naidu and M.K. Stalin respectively, make statements that turned India's decade-long population control policy on its head and revived anxieties around the constitutionally mandated delimitation exercise for the Lok Sabha seats again. Now, why did these two chief ministers ask people in their states to reproduce more and at a faster rate when India has already outstripped China as the most populous country in the world? This is the topic of this week's Talking Politics. The statements on successive days, first by N. Chandrababu Naidu and a day later by M.K. Stalin, that couples should have more children, took everyone by surprise. Till now, the conventional wisdom has always been that India is bursting at the seams, it's overpopulated, and that family planning measures are advisable. Mr. Naidu said that South India, being an early adopter of population control measures, must now re-evaluate its strategies, citing Europe, China, Russia, and Japan as examples of nations struggling with aging populations. He opined that aging, and I quote, is becoming a global challenge. If India can manage its population well, it will hold a dominant position globally for hundreds of years. Mr. Stalin, while jocularly asking couples to have 16 children, also stressed on declining population trends in the South because of the successful adoption of family planning measures. Now, before alighting on the reasons why they said what they did, let's look at some of the numbers on whether what they said is borne out by facts. Now, according to the India Aging Report of the United Nations Population Fund, the southern states have not only a lower fertility rate compared to northern states, but will also age in larger numbers by the year 2036, which is barely 12 years away. The aging index measure, that is the number of elderly people that is above 60 years old per 100 people of population will be for the southern states of Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, Karnataka and Puducherry. It will be around 61.7 per children below the age of 15 years. While for the northern states of Jammu and Kashmir, Himachal Pradesh, Punjab, Uttarakhand, Haryana, Delhi and Rajasthan put together, it will be nearly half of that, which would be about 38.9 elderly per 100 children below 15 years of age. So in the southern states, you can very clearly see that we're hitting a position where the number of children or people who are going to be entering the workforce, will be providing the labor and skill to take forward economic activity, will be smaller in proportion to the large number of elderly people who will require far greater resources in terms of healthcare and in terms of elderly care. So that is not a very good situation as far as economics of a particular area is concerned. So that is one thing that is actually borne out by facts. This is a problem that is going to arise for the southern states pretty quickly. Now, the political and policy aspect is also important in this context. Now, the delineation of seats marking out Lok Sabha constituencies, called the delimitation exercise under Delimitation Commission, looks at population as an important criteria. Basically, you cut out seats for Lok Sabha based on population. So many people, okay, this is one constituency. Up until 1976, after every Indian census, the seats of Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha and assemblies of various states were redistributed throughout the country so as to have equal representation from equal population represented from each and every seat. This apportionment was done thrice as per the 1951, 1961 and 1971 population census. However, During the emergency 1975 to 77, through the 42nd Amendment that took place at that time, the government froze the total parliamentary and assembly seats in each state till 2001 census. This was done mainly due to wide discrepancies in family planning among states, that the southern states were far better at adopting family planning measures than the northern states. Thus, it gave time to states with higher fertility rates to implement family planning to bring the fertility rates down. Now some of it is down, but it is not at the same rate for the north and the south, and that is creating a lot of anxiety. So even though the boundaries of constituencies were altered in 2001 to equate population among the parliamentary and assembly seats, the number of Lok Sabha seats that each state has and those of legislative assemblies has remained unaltered. A freeze was put on it that, okay, population may have changed, but if you have 80 seats from Uttar Pradesh, that's not going to change. If you have 39 seats from Tamil Nadu, the overall number is not going to change. You can change within that. You can say, okay, this used to be earlier, say, Madurai constituency. This will not be Madurai. This will be a neighboring, this particular part of what used to be Madurai will be now part of, say, the neighboring constituency there, etc., etc. So that can be done within. But the total number of seats that are there from each state, that is going to be frozen, and that was a decision taken by the Vajpayee government at that time. And therefore, this entire number situation, 545 MPs in the Lok Sabha, has remained unaltered since the 1971 census. And it can only be now changed after the 2026 deadline. As the Constitution was again amended, as I said before, 84th Amendment to the Indian Constitution in 2002 to continue the freeze till 2026, which again, basically the governments have to set up a delimitation commission to again go into the delimitation of states. A lot of people are saying that one should have the census first, then we have the delimitation of the Lok Sabha seats. This time around, we have the Women's Reservation Act, which has been passed by Parliament, and therefore you need to anyway increase the total number of seats to accommodate this 33% reservation that has been given to women. And as you know, the new Parliament, the Lok Sabha Hall, has seating capacity for a little over 1,000 people. So therefore, if this delimitation exercise also increases the total number of seats and has to do justice to the various states, logistically that can be done in terms of having seating capacity for members of parliament. Now, the southern states are saying that even if the census happens and you have a delimitation, the southern states with lesser population will suffer. And of course, the economic rationale I already spoke about earlier. Now, thus the year 2026 hovers as a dark cloud over the southern states who fear they may be punished for sincerely implementing family planning measures. Even devolution to states under the finance commissions has population as a major criteria. So while the southern states have raised the issue now, with the TDP being a major ally of the NDA government, at the center, all eyes are on the response of the union government to these anxieties. Now, while in the past, Prime Minister Narendra Modi raised the issue of a population explosion, he was addressing the nation from the ramparts of the Red Fort on Independence Day of 2019, when he talked about how we should talk about population explosion. But during the Telangana Assembly polls just 4 years later in 2023, he had pointed out to these anxieties in the southern state with reference to the Congress slogan, Jitni Abadi Utna Hak, rights according to numbers. And because this was Congress trying to push the idea of a caste census, saying let's have a counting of how many people are there from various communities and give reservations and rights to resources on the basis of that. So he said, if that is what the Congress wants, can the southern states swallow the fact that it may be that the southern states, if everything is done via population, then the southern states are in a position to lose nearly 100 Lok Sabha seats in terms of representation. And he asked whether the southern states would forgive the Congress for suggesting something that would lead to an outcome like that. Now, The raising of the issue by Southern chief ministers shows that while India may be the most populous country now, the growth in population was not even and could lead to skewed distribution. The Union government had, during the budget speech by Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman in 2024, announced the setting up of a committee to look into the challenges of demography, of a currently youthful population hurtling towards a greater age and a non-productive economic category. Now, in foreign policy, it is often said that one cannot choose one's neighbors and have to evolve policies to deal with them as they are, that geography is destiny. The statements by Mr. Naidu and Mr. Stalin show that even demography is destiny unless policies are evolved to deal with challenges there. At the time of recording, no response was forthcoming from the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare at the centre or even the BJP to their own partners' anxieties with regard to skewed population growth. We will revisit this issue when that happens. But for this week, we end the episode here. Thank you for watching. I will see you next week.